Yeah, unfortunately, that's not how this video is going to go. Now, I did go out to this beautiful rhododendron bark. I got up at 6 a.m. to go to it. I had this new mic on, and I obviously still don't know how to use it, or I didn't have it on properly, or just something went wrong and the audio just, you couldn't hear what I was saying. My editing skills and software are not up to par, so I just couldn't fix it, and we're stuck with my pink wall. It is almost summer solstice, and that means it's time for the Litha shawl to be released. Hi, I'm Paulina, also known as Lina, and I'm a knitwear designer based in Helsinki, Finland. I design knitting patterns for your soul, usually inspired by nature, patterns that are engaging and meditative to knit. And here on my channel, I share my designs, share my tips and tricks, and have cozy chats, and lately also vlogs about everything and anything to do with knitting. If that sounds like something you would enjoy, do subscribe. But now on to the star of the show, the Litha shawl. So this is the 6th shawl in the knitted wheel of the year. We started back in October with Samhain, so we've gone through the dark, cold winter into spring, and now we've arrived in the summer season. I linked the playlist below where you can see all the other shawls, as well as my Ravelry store where you can purchase Litha and all the other patterns in the series. I got the inspiration for Litha last summer, around the same time as I'm filming this now. I was sitting by the bay on a beach, and it was a really hot, sunny, calm day, though the sea was like glass. And I was just looking at all these insects and dragonflies buzzing about, and the tiny creatures creating circles on top of the water surface. And it was just such a happy moment. And I thought, this is the essence of the Litha season to me. And this is what I want to capture in the shawl. So that moment, that scene was my starting point. To me, the Litha season is associated with the element of water. Now, I know that in many traditions, summer season is associated with fire because of the hot, blazing sun that we have out at this season. But the way I've been taught, and that resonates with me, is the water element for summer and fire for spring. So you can see that fire element in my Beltane shawl, for example. But for this one, I went with this aquatic scene, and definitely wanted to have a blue color as well. Now, very briefly, Litha is a season that's associated with growth, prosperity, and renewal, and also sacred unions. At least here in Finland, summer is still very much a season when people want to have weddings, when they want to get married. And just a decade or two ago, even at the actual date of the summer solstice was a popular wedding day. So that tradition is still very much a part of our modern life, even if we're not thinking about it in terms of Litha and sacred unions. This shawl is an asymmetric triangle, and you start it from this point and end on the opposite edge. A traditional asymmetric triangle shawl shape with increases on the right, or every right side row increases the stitch count by 1 stitch. And on the surface of this shawl, you can see both the dragonflies and the little circles on top of the water. So the reverse stockinette stitch blocks that you see on the shawl are the air, and then the stockinette stitch blocks are water. I didn't want the pattern to be too dragonfly-y, and I know that's not a word, but let's just go with that one. So you can see the resemblance to the dragonflies if you want to, or you can just see a beautiful and intriguing surface. It is created with cables and knobs. Now the cables are 1/1 cables, and I did them without cable needles. Of course, you can use one if you are comfortable with using one, but I find it faster to work without. So that's what I did. And then the bubbles or the knobs that make up the sort of the body and the head of the dragonfly, those are done on the right side only. So you don't have to keep turning the shawl around when you're working on it. You just work it, increase and decrease all in one go, pretty much. I'm not going to say they're not fiddly, but they're not too fiddly. So there aren't that many in the shawl, and once you get into the rhythm of it, they go by quite quickly. And then all of that texture is balanced then with the smooth stockinette with the eyelet pattern, and very easy to knit and relaxing to knit. For the shawl, I used Hey Mama Wolf Mokosh. It's a sport weight non-superwash merino yarn, and Mokosh is super soft. It says so on the label. It was a pleasure to work with, and I used less than 2 skeins. So if you have 200 grams of sport weight yarn, you're good to go. Now, in my experience, the non-superwash yarns tend to bloom more when they are blocked. If you're using a non-superwash yarn, I do recommend that you do a gauge swatch. Yes, for shawls, but that's so you can see that you get a fabric that you like. Now, I did use a loose gauge for this one so that I can get the lovely drape into it. Do block your swatch, and block it by actually stretching the swatch. Don't just wet it and leave it out, but stretch it and pin it. So, because that's what you do with shawls. For this one, I always recommend blocking your shawls to give them that extra room or sort of extra length and width, but also so that the stitch patterns open up. And for here, you do need it for the eyelet patterns especially. Now, it doesn't need to be blocked aggressively so the textured pattern doesn't get too distorted. But that also benefits from being blocked because it smooths it out and sort of relaxes it into place better. I hope you enjoy Litha. It's now available in my Ravelry store, and like I said, the link to that is below. This was the 6th shawl, so there are 2 more shawls to come before the wheel has turned a full turn. And now I'm gonna take you to the walk and the roto part that I promised in the beginning. If you like this video and are curious about the seasonal shawls, you could watch the previous one, Beltane, next. I'm sure you would enjoy that one as well. As usual, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. And thank you so much for hanging out with me. I will see you soon again.